Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about sending Ether in Solidity. So let's get started. The key thing there was a change in best practice about a year and a half ago, specified in this article by Consensus, one of the big players here, and they talk about there are three methods that you can use: transfer, send, and call. The change is that happened in in best practices is that they don't recommend you use transfer or send because they have a hard cap on gas. These things change. So as they say here, this forwards the gas, and it forwards this much amount gas, but it will not be enough if gas costs change, and that was the key point, is gas costs can change, making send and transfer not recommended anymore. So they recommend call. Now, one other thing, for that same reason, even though in the call method you can actually set the amount of gas, they do not recommend it for the same reason. The big issue is, again, the cost of gas changing. Now, one thing about send and transfer that they discuss here is they were created because they guard against reentry attacks. So you need to be able to handle that in your call, if you're using call. And here's some example of vulnerable. As you can see, so let's look at the difference here. Is you're using the checks, and I think the difference here is you set the amount, which is the balance. You set the balance of the sender to 0, and then if it's not a success, then it fails. And so here's the key: the balance is zeroed out before the transfer. So if you try to make a re-entrant call, they can't do anything. There's also this other method that they talk about, which is essentially using a bool to lock the method when you go to make the withdrawal, and then you don't unlock it until it's done. And there are even more sophisticated methods that they discuss in this article. So what's the takeaway here? The takeaway here is using transfer and send can be an issue because of the hard limit on gas, which again is the resources that are used when you move things around the network. And they talk about some of the issues. It can be involved in the pricing operation, resource consumption, and several drawbacks. So this is why they change this. And they do not, and again for the same reason, do not recommend setting it yourself. And they go into here. It can be used for attacks by filling blocks with underpriced operations, which cause excessive block processing time. So that's where you give it too little gas and it's going to go really, really slowly. Underpriced, and they talk about underpriced opcodes called a skewed block class limit, or block gas limit. So they can finish quickly, but others are very slow. So this is why you don't want a gas limit, and this is why you use call. And again, this article here goes over various ways of avoiding reentrancy. So this is, again, this is an excellent article. They do give you an example vulnerable, because it does require before it sets the balance, so what this does is it sets the balance to 0 before it makes the call. So if someone comes back in, it's already set to 0. And again, this method we just talked about, and there are some more sophisticated methods. So this article sums it up pretty well here, and I would recommend it. And we're going to try to, in our application, we're going to try to stick with best practices here. Use call, deal with the reentrancy. We can do it really simply by setting the I think we probably want to use this because they're not going to send their entire balance. That's what I'm thinking. 0 so attempting. So let's see. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. If it has, then please give a like. Please subscribe. Please share it with a friend. Ring the bell to get further, our future videos. And I will speak to you next time.